$23.48. Total receipts $30,695.16. Make a motion that we approve these bills.
Second.
Will the clerk call the roll since we're spending money?
Supervisor Barlow.
Yes.
Trustees Shaver,
Yes.
Yeager.
Yes.
Macredo.
Yes.
Bendemeyer.
Yes.
All ayes, motion carries.
Okay, bills for the general road and bridge.
We, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have, on this 10th day of August, 2023, examined and audited the amounts due for the items specified in the claims attached, and hereby authorize payments of the same. Total reimbursements to be approved, 0. Total bills to be approved, $51,582.96. Total bills paid prior to audit, $14,159.73. Total to be approved, $65,742.69. Total receipts, $39,289.71. I make a motion that we approve these bills and pay them.
I'll second the motion.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Supervisor Barlow.
Yeah.
Trustees Shaver,
Yes.
Yeager.
Yes.
Macredo.
Yes.
Bendemeyer.
Yes.
All ayes, motion carries.
I gotta get it back occasionally. Motion for permanent hard road.
I'll make a motion. Second, anyone? We, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have this 10th day of August 2023 examined and ordered amounts due for the items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorize payment of the same. Total reimbursements to be approved, none. Total bills to be approved, $8,793.94. Total bills paid prior to audit, $18,870.85. Total to be approved is $27,664.79. Total receipts, $19,461.45. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Okay. Got even.
Yeah.
Supervisor Barlow.
Yes.
Trustees Shaver,
Yes.
Yeager.
Yes.
Macredo.
Yes.
Bendemeyer.
Yes.
All ayes, motion carries.
Item number 7 on this evening's agenda is a fund transfer. There are none. Then we move on to new business. It's 8.1. It's discussion with, it's still the Beta Omicron sorority sponsoring Blue Star Banner. Okay. Yeah, it's 8 new business, but this is 8.1. This is the first one. Yeah. So what I thought was, I'll make a motion that we have a discussion and possible action for the Blue Star Banner program.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So from a discussion standpoint, first of all, thank you very much for attending this evening.
Thank you.
I know that this is something that has been on your agenda for a while, and I finally caught up to it after becoming supervisor. So again, thank you for attending. I'll speak for the board because I'm 99.9% sure that they're behind this program. And really what we need to do is figure out how to divide up and conquer to find those people that want to be recognized, is my thought. So it's a marketing program, is what we need to develop. So I guess, I'm not sure if everybody understands the program. If you would give a brief overview for a couple of the new members and how it used to work in the past, it would be appreciated.
Go ahead.
It's just casual, no formal, just kind of throw it out there if you remember.
So to start with, we can introduce ourselves.
Yes,
Sure.
I'm Jan Welch
Okay.
and Renee St. Clair.
And
And we started doing, sorry,
I'm sorry, can we have a city, your name and city?
Jan Welch, Wonder Lake. Renee St. Clair.
McHenry.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We started, we think about 2011 with this program. And basically the word got out just through the newsletter, I think was about the only way we were able to reach people, and word of mouth. And the plaques out in the hallway tell you how many people we inducted or gave banners to. It honors people families who have relatives currently serving in the armed forces, in all branches of the armed forces. And in the past, we have a banner that we present to them.
So we, as a sorority,
As a sorority.
we are a sorority. We are made up of 12 members from this area, right? Not all McHenry, Wonder Lake, Antioch.
Most of McHenry and Wonder Lake, there's just,
So we are a sorority, a part of a national sorority,
Yep.
and this is what we wanted to be one of our service projects, was to do this. So we purchase the banners, and we purchase flowers to give to the recipients, some carnations when they come, and then we have paid for the plaque, so we cover most of the cost of the program as our sorority, as that's, our service project. What we can't do is get information out to the people, right? We have no way of doing that. So that's why we partnered with the township. And so the township was able to advertise in their newsletter, and then we did these presentations at your township meetings. And so it was a very nice partnership that we had. The township usually provided a plaque that had your
There's a resolution.
resolution, thank you. I was gonna say proclamation, and I knew that wasn't the right word. So the township usually provided a plaque with the resolution on it, which was something the township did. We didn't have anything to do with that. But we did a very nice presentation. We've invited, like VFW in the past to come be a part of the presentation, support the presentation. Usually for the presentation, there was a small speech given by us, which highlighted the history of the Blue Star banner, and then our gratitude, basically, right, to the families. So it's like a 2-minute speech. I'm happy to read it for you if you want me to. And then we had the video. We played a short 5-minute video in the middle of it that has no monologue to it. It has no speaking to it. It's just music and pictures of services throughout the decades. So it kind of starts with World War I. The
Yeah.
Blue Star banner was designed by a World War I Army captain. So it starts with that and then progresses up to today, and kind of just explains that, we still have heroes today that need to be recognized. So that, I think that's kind of a good description of what we've done in the past.
Correct. When I was on the board previous to the last board, I had the opportunity to participate in 2 of them. One of them was a young man that his family, he was in the Navy, and I coached him in football. So it's kind of a rewarding thing to recognize these families when their kids go off to serve in the military. That's why I want to bring it back. One of my comments, though, as I've been kind of digging around, is it's hard to find active military families. I've talked to folks that are actively serving. I've talked to retired folks. Do you have any old contacts from the groups that used to come in? I remember you had one of the motorcycle group, was it Warrior Riders?
Yes, we had them come once.
Pardon me?
We had them come once.
Okay, yeah, okay.
They want to come for support.
Okay.
They don't really have contacts to recipients. So they were just coming to show their support for the families. We
Correct.
got the recipients through your newsletter, right? They would
Okay.
contact the
So it's
McHenry
mostly
Township.
The newsletter?
The newsletter was huge.
You're aware the newsletter died.
I
Yes.
do, yes, I am. We personally have, like I said, reached out to the VFW. The problem is usually those are veterans and not current service members. I personally even had a conversation with the Department of Defense
Yeah.
at one point, which was surprising. But who knows what you can find with Google searches, right?
Yeah.
I ended up talking to the Department of Defense. They told me at that time that if we could get a current military member as a sponsor, that then they would be able to give information to that military member. I got a military
Okay.
member, I got a sponsor, that went nowhere.
Okay.
We've tried putting flyers in the community, applications in the community, at the library, at the post offices, at the Patty's, Kim and Patty's
Yep.
restaurant.
Yep.
So we've gone everywhere we can as just people and said, hey, here's an application, this program still exists, you know, we'd like to put these out for people to pick up.
Have you tried the recruiting offices?
We have.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm a high school teacher. I teach at Huntley High School. She worked at Richmond Burton High School. I also worked at Richmond Burton High School. So we've contacted the recruiters that come to the high schools. And I even thought maybe the high schools were our route, right? I thought the high schools know, Huntley High School knows what 8 students are gonna enter the military. If we could just get the high schools to send our application in the mail to those families, then maybe that would work, and I fell short with that too. Unless you specifically have somebody at the high school that is passionate about it, that wants to do it, it's hard to get other people to do things for you. And obviously Huntley High School is not anywhere near McHenry Township, right? So that, you know, so we need help. We don't know where to go.
I see this program as being a love of labor. And let me explain that, is that we're gonna have to go to the high school, to a school board meeting, and explain what it is. We're gonna have to go to McHenry, VFW, the Legion,
The PLAB, the Moose.
the PLAB with
The
Moose.
Moose brings down, from Great Lakes every year for Thanksgiving.
Right.
We get 20 or 30 kids
So
there
do
for
we
Thanksgiving
at the
dinner.
PLAB and VFW, but the American Legion post, I don't know if you tried, but we have the Sons of Legions, they have the Riders of the Legion, the American Legion, they sponsor the high school kids, some scholarship programs.
Right.
It's another avenue, and be happy to introduce you to Joe Kelsack, the member, or even our BAC officer at the county, Joe Wanek, may be able to help you.
Yeah, send me those names.
Oh, okay.
And then what I
Part
will
of the
do
problem-
is I will work with you, Carl. Carl Kaminsky is a county board member and
District
represents our
6.
area. So, District 6, so,
Part of the problem we've run into is the privacy part. You know, that
I ran into
counselors
that
are like, I
person.
can't give you addresses to, you know.
that's fine, there's ways around that.
Yeah.
What I found from a privacy standpoint, I found a couple active members that were active duty, but they didn't want anybody to know because their family's here alone. They didn't want anybody to know, you know, because if we publicize it at the ceremony, is it possible to give them this honor when they come back? I mean, they could fly it for a little while, whatever they want to choose to do. But I think after they've even served, because it was a 2-year stint that he did, and he's home now. But he said that it's a security issue for him. He would love to have had his family do it, but it was a security issue for him. So if you guys are willing to kind of wiggle around the rules, you know, that'll help too, I think. They're out there, we just gotta find them. Yeah.
And I think having names is helpful, right? I mean, I can walk into the VFW and I can hand a stack of applications to the person that's there.
Yeah.
But without
Well,
really knowing
yeah.
who to talk to and tell them about the program, that's incredibly helpful.
I think that's the key, is those that are active in the VFW and the Legion and McHenry, and even Johnsburg, is we need to attend their board meeting, and I will offer that up. I will go with you. We need to make just a little quick take what we currently have and turn it into a little trifold flyer, and maybe we can cram a short application on the back and then fill out the rest of the paperwork later type thing, to get the ball rolling. But first thing I want to do is I want to work with and make a flyer for our Facebook page, and let's just start hitting Facebook twice a month, once a week or whatever, to kind of just get the message out there. We do have a number of followers, so I think that will help. And the more people that can link to it too will help drag it through the community. Are you open beyond McHenry Township to Richmond and Burton Townships and
I know that Richmond and Burden had a Blue Star program.
They did?
I talked to one of the teachers there who was an ex-Marine and was involved with it, and I think he said it had kind of, just like here, you know, the pandemic, and so it kind of dropped off, so I don't know,
Yes.
but yes.
We,
Why
as a
don't you guys-
sorority,
We don't have
are
a problem.
open to
Yeah.
helping
Yeah.
anybody
Doesn't matter.
at any level. And if it becomes financially, you know, that we can't, then we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But we are welcome to honor anybody
Yeah.
in the
Okay.
surrounding
The
area.
reason we stayed in McHenry was because the township was our partner.
Sure.
So,
We're finding that we have to go a little bit outside of our edges to really sometimes find people and those that need help or
Not a
want,
problem.
you know, this
We're fine
situation.
with that.
yeah.
If you want to take a trip to Florida, if
No.
there's some people down there, maybe in February, that need to be recognized, I will sacrifice and
That's
take
part-
that trip with you.
The reason I ask is that, that's part of it is while I was doing the research on it, is that each state seems to have their own thing, or counties have their own thing. I really never zeroed in on a national Blue Star banner program. It's got its roots somewhere, I just couldn't find it. But, you know, so everybody runs them a little bit differently and has different criteria and things of that nature. So that's kind of why I asked that question is, let's try not to limit ourselves to just, you know, township proper, the city of McHenry. If there's somebody on the west side of Wonder Lake, let's do it.
It's fine with
As
us.
long as, you know, but I'm gonna leave the Blue Star banner coordination, if there is somebody in Spring Grove, if you guys would try to seek them out again.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Try to seek out the organizations that are kind of surrounding us, that would be great to have.
Okay.
So,
That's the only one that we
That's the
know
only
of.
one.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's really what I wanted to have you do, is just kind of come by, and I guess from that standpoint, just to kind
There
of,
is one at Crystal Lake, because I read the paper where they give Blue Star banners.
they actually hang banners, I think, on roads,
yeah.
on light poles, for a period of time,
Right,
when they give them out.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I remember reading that paper and going,
Yeah. Well, we gotta walk before we run.
yeah.
Let's get the message out first, and let's get a few recipients and publish that and make sure everybody knows that we're back in business again. But I do want to recognize the fact that we're here to work with you, and but we're going to need some help from you also.
yeah.
Okay.
Likewise.
I'll get in touch with Richmond right away and see where they are and
Okay.
maybe get their contact person.
And Mr. Kaminsky, I'll be talking to you
No
for
problem.
some names.
I
Mr.
think
Mark? Yeah, I'll
the,
ask for some names.
working with you guys also would help us because we've got scholarships for high school kids that are they're veterans or active duty, and we're at the same boat you are.
Yeah, you don't know who they are.
DOD says, screw you, we're not letting you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll figure that one out too. There's got to be a way.
But it would be a good working relationship between the two.
Yeah, and the application, if anybody, you know, wants to take a look at that, I mean, all we need is a name to put on the plaque.
Yeah.
Right? So the other information is whatever you would need, you know, for your records. But yeah, I mean, having a flyer, having something like you said, an easy maybe QR code for a Google form,
Yeah.
right? That they can just quickly fill out their name and a way to contact them. And then we can kind of get the nitty gritty that needs to happen later.
A little ahead of us with the QR code.
Sorry.
Google form. We're not quite there yet.
I'm learning. My students are teaching
Really
me.
not that hard.
I know. Well, I think we have somebody
I
that
think we
can
have a
execute
volunteer.
it.
It's really not that difficult.
No, I think we have somebody here that can execute it, so that's, I just need to get his time to be able to do that. Kind of just tweak a little flyer, take the information.
Yeah.
I've had him work it once, it didn't set me on fire, put it that way. Looking to punch it up a little bit.
Today's youth, that's the way they,
Correct.
anything you can do on your phone, that's the
Absolutely.
way to communicate with them, so.
That's part of the township's challenge, is trying to figure out how to communicate with the different age levels, with all the programs that we offer, different programs, so, awesome. I don't have anything else. Does anybody have any other comments?
I would like to make one.
Yes.
I was a member for a long time, both as the highway commissioner and as a trustee, and I think that's one of the best things that we did here was the Blue Star banner. I can tell you every time, very emotional.
Yeah,
in my
tears every
opinion.
time.
And I knew many times I knew people that it was such a pleasure to let them know that we're thinking of them. And you could not pick if there's one of the good things you can do as a township, this is it. I mean, when it died off, just because things happen, but this was one of my favorite things about being on the board and being part of the township is recognizing our military people. There's nothing that can make you smile more than that, that's for sure.
We send a card on Veterans Day to recipients whose addresses we still have, and we've gotten 2 or 3 of them back, telling us that, glad you're still thinking of us, or, appreciating it. It does, it makes you feel really good, yeah.
I agree with Jim when we had it in the past. March the Newcomer, I believe, was running it back in that era, was she not? March the Newcomer? Because I remember a couple presentations they did here, and I wasn't a trustee at the time, but I was out in the public. I mean, it's a great, for sure, something we need to do.
I guess if there's no other comments, we'll move on. Thank you very much for coming.
So is there a specific, forgive me, I'm a very logistical, black and white. What do you need me to do next when I walk out of this room?
What I need you to do is reach out to Richmond, find out what's going on there.
Okay.
And then if you have any old phone numbers or old contacts from anybody that was involved, pull those together and we'll contact them together to have them help drive the message with us.
Okay.
And in the meantime, on my side, what I'll do is I'll work to get a simple trifold folder going on that's easy to hand out, not bulky. And after that is we'll have to set some dates as fall comes on us to try to hit a few of these board meetings. I was thinking that probably shoot for ceremony over the holidays if we could, or right after the holidays if we can get some people lined up. So now it's time to go out and beat the bushes.
Okay.
That's what we need to do.
I'm ready.
Great. Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Are you guys taking off?
This is exciting stuff. I can't believe you're
That's
leaving.
my card.
Okay.
And one that may be a treasure trove of info is Senator Craig Wilcox, Colonel, retired Air Force Colonel. He's out in Woodstock, his office is there.
Okay.
Give him a call. He also sits on the state Veterans Affairs.
Fantastic.
So he may be a treasure trove.
Wilcox. I will give you this if
Okay.
you are
Thank
interested.
you.
That's my speech.
Okay.
So if you're making a flyer and you want to, don't steal my thunder, but if you want to throw a little bit of that
Well, we
information on
can't copy
there.
and paste it right on there? Okay, thank you.
Just so you have it.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So stop in,
Okay.
a treasure trove.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, thank you. Okay. We'll move on to 8.2. The clerk will catch up to us, really not a lot here. You all received a copy of an ordinance amendment, an amendment to the ordinance for our investment policy. How this came about is our bank, one of our banks that we bank at, our ordinance was a little bit, not in conflict, but wasn't in sync with the banking rules. So we wanted to update the ordinance so that we are in sync with them in the way that they handle the money, and they're required to handle governmental money. So that's really all we did is we updated the language. We had Mr. Milito review it, and if there's any questions regarding that, that's why he's here this evening, is to answer any questions on what changed.
Yeah, I'd love to. So one of the things we did was look at what it is regarding this investment policy. It's the Public Funds Investment Act, and within that act, under 2.5, there's 12 specific things that the policy, the investment policy shouldn't contain. And so what I wanted to do is make sure those 12 pieces were included in the policy. So one of the other ways to address that too was to then identify within the investment policy that specific section. So if you'll notice, For example, if you go down to number 3 under objective, you'll see there in brackets 30 ILCS 232 2.5A9. So if you see that, that then number matches up with the number in the statute as to that reference. And you'll see that throughout the ordinance. And the purpose, again, of that is that not so much for the ordinance itself, but in the event that you ever have a bank or another financial institution or a constituent or somebody said to you, well, you know what, here's this Investment Policy Act. Where in that policy does it comply with Section 10 of this piece? Then at least you have a reference point instead of trying to read through the thing and figure out what the heck and where it's at specifically related to that. That's number 1. Number 2, I am also in receipt of that email from the bank. I believe his name was Doug Howe.
Yes.
Doug had some questions on it, and he made some reference to another section within the Act. And within the Act, it's within Section 2 actually talks about all the types of funds that can be used. And he said, well, one of the big issues that they were having is that because of the language we had in there, which was full faith and credit, well, it limited them from their ability to do some types of investments. Understand? I get that. So we went back and looked at the statute as it has, and I believe the way it's written now, that it allow for what he's looking for. So specifically under small little 2 of the permissible or acceptable investments, that will be covered. The second part of that equation is, well, because it's not full faith and credit, what type of collateralization is then going to be required? And then that collateralization is then picked up in, let me get to it, which is small d, then, which talks about a minimum of 105%. That could be 120%, 110%. I've lowered it down to the 105, which I believe was being recommended. Again, this is just a draft of the board. If you want to approve it tonight, you certainly can. If there's changes, you certainly can do that. But what it's also designed to do is give the supervisor some leeway as far as that information, but also this board as far as adopting the policies, reviewing it, but also giving you the authority that if you want to go out, and I think we put in here the investment administrator. So let's say you decide that you're going to go with some firm and they have an investment administrator that you want to hire to help with some of the financial pieces, you could certainly do that too. You know, one of the other points I wanted to just kind of point is sometimes you ask, well, what is this going to require us to do? Well, one of the pieces, let me just make sure I got it here, was the reporting piece, and it's in here regarding every month you'll let people know what you're doing regarding the financial assets. Well, like you do normally every month, I looked at your assets, you have all your assets listed right there, how they're reported, so you're automatically complying right now. But again, this is just more designed to bring in terms of flexibility and then identify sections of the statutes if it's ever questioned.
Any questions?
The only, I listed a couple,
Okay.
but I didn't go through it. In C, was it 4C? Yeah, 4C, a delegation of authority. And if you read that paragraph and then you go to safekeeping and custody, there would be 5C2. It says separation of transaction authority for accounting. The supervisor or their designee shall be responsible to account to the board for all investments made. And if I remember right, me and Gary briefly talked about this earlier, by state statute, Gary has to come to the board to get, Gary can make the decision on, we're gonna go to this bank and this reason, but I believe he needs to report to the board, and the board approves that transaction. That's the way I remember state law. Could be mistaken.
So which part are you having questions on? So management and administrative responsibility investment program is hereby delegated. So then management and administrative, so the day-to-day activities of it, not an issue, right?
Right, correct.
The supervisor shall be act in accordance with the Investment Policy Act.
Right.
That's fair.
Correct.
And establish all written procedures. So C, you don't have a problem with.
Right, I'm just making sure that
Yep.
5,
Yep, no, I'm with you.
two,
So 5.
C2,
C2.
Yep.
Yeah, would
So
Gary would come-
separation of transaction authority from accounting.
All investments made with the board's approval.
yeah,
The
the board's approval is what
supervisor
I'm
shall be
saying.
responsible to the account to the board for all investments made with the.
It doesn't say board approval.
Made with the board's approval.
I just want to make sure we're in agreement with that. That's a.
So if
that's
I
a
was
real
gonna
point.
take take money from Bank A
You want
and
the
go
board's
to Bank
approval.
C,
Yeah.
you would have to have approval.
Yeah, so, what this is saying, the supervisor shall be responsible to account to the board for all investments made with the board's approval.
I just want to make sure
If
that's
I
the way
move
it
money
is.
from, just for a point of clarification, if I move money from one bank to another,
You're doing it because of the board's approval.
okay.
With board's approval.
So let's just, if you don't mind, just
You
put
don't
a
make it
period
wrong,
there.
it's not
For the avoidance of doubt, the supervisor, something in there so that, is required for board approval for any transfers.
So to move, yeah, okay, from bank to bank. So within the bank, if I have an account with $1,000 in it, and I want to move it into another account, I can do that without the board's approval.
At the same location is what you're saying?
Yeah, at the same location.
Question, is that okay with the board?
I don't see a problem with it. I'm just, I read it earlier, that's why I'm
No, I
discussing it.
understand it now.
Yeah,
Because now you're breaking that piece down.
correct, that's why,
I would rather spell that out in here. Good point,
With
bank to bank versus account to account.
Yeah,
With respect to the purpose of this all, though, you at the same bank could move something from like a liquid account to a non-liquid or more risky account, correct? So I think in that case, that should
I
require
think
that's true,
board
that's
approval.
true.
But if you're moving it because you need the liquidity out of the item that could have fluctuation, I don't know that that should require approval. Like, if we have some sort of investment account and we have a checking account and you're moving 1,000 from the investment account to the checking account because we need the
That's what
liquidity,
Vicky's gonna talk
that's fine. But the other way around, it should be board approval.
Do we not already have where the board approved certain banks
Yes,
that the supervisor's allowed to use?
yes.
And can he transfer from one bank to another?
No,
That's what we're talking
that's what we're
about.
talking about.
Okay. We have that approval though already, right?
No.
No, I'm pretty sure we do.
Well,
There's a
it
list
goes
of
away with
banks
this, though.
within,
there's a list of banks, but I don't believe that, I'd have to check with him, is that
this
document
new board
doesn't.
probably didn't, but I think it
Correct.
was done in the past that the list of banks that we use were approved by the board.
Correct.
And that's just carried over.
Correct.
Correct, that's why we changed it.
And this seems far more granular than just approving the bank. This is what can you do at the bank.
Correct.
Well,
So
the
I
law
think-
tells us what we can do with the money. There's only certain investments you can go into
Yeah.
from a
Correct.
risk standpoint. So.
Anna brings up a good point.
Yeah, so what I think John is trying to say, correct me if I'm wrong, is that, and what I'm trying to say is that a transfer within an approved bank from one account, checking account was used, and then into a money market fund, that I don't have to go to the board for approval. But if I'm gonna take the money market fund from one bank and move it to another bank that's approved, I need to notify you prior to the movement of those funds.
Hang on, the
That's
money
my point,
market,
but I think Adam has another point.
yeah, the money market fund is subject to market fluctuation, correct?
Correct, but it's one of the more conservative investments that we're allowed to invest in.
It is, but there's still risk.
Correct.
So I think if you're going from a non-risky account to a risky account, even at the same bank, that should require approval, but vice versa should not at the same bank. So if you're taking money from the money market going to the checking account, that I don't think should need approval at the same bank. But if you're going from checking account to money market, which then makes it so that it potentially does have risk, that should be,
But isn't it a common practice to go from one to the other all the time? We constantly
Correct.
take our reserves and put them into money markets, and you don't want him contacting them every time he gets a check from, whether it be taxes or
Correct.
any other funds that come in. He'll be calling you every other day to give
That
you
is
approvals.
sweeps almost every day from money to checking.
Right.
All of our accounts, all 4 of them.
You do not want
Okay.
You do
Yeah,
not
it's
want
like
to
8 different accounts we
micromanage
reconcile.
that.
no,
So when you're
the goal is
looking
not
at-
to micromanage it either, but just,
In your board packet, when you're looking at the receipts where it shows all those sweeps, those are the transfers from money market to checking.
I got
Back
it.
and
Okay.
forth.
Yeah,
And it
back
goes
and forth,
both
and
ways.
it will go the opposite direction also,
Yeah.
to keep our minimum balance.
So what we're saying is just so you can change banks, we need to know,
Yeah.
is what we're saying.
So let me ask one question then. If he wanted to go ahead and take the money out of the money market and put it into a 60-day CD, board approval or no board approval?
if it's in the same bank, probably, well, I would think that if it's within the same bank and what I'm hearing here, it would be okay. But if I'm gonna take it from one bank that's in a money market and put it into 60-day CD at another bank, they're asking for approval.
Okay.
I think that's the way state law reads too. I'm not making that up. I remember reading that in the state code. We discussed that in the past.
So a bank-to-bank transfer is what, because
how
we
often do you do
operate,
bank-to-bank
we
transfer?
operate mainly out of one bank with
All of our operating is done out of one.
one, yeah,
Correct.
and then
For all
the other
checking.
banks are investment banks.
Right,
Right now,
We can
investments
only
are
hold
done
so
in
much
when it's
money in
paying.
each bank.
Okay, so nothing changed.
If you don't mind, can I revise this, send this to the board and bring it back unless you want to make it the change tonight and with the change?
It's up to Gary.
I would prefer you, just write it up and send it back to us. I don't think it's necessary for you to be here, but
That's fine.
we'd like to see it again.
You
yes.
got it.
That's fine.
6 months worth of interest, we'll bring you back.
Well, I guess, in that case, let's make it formal. I'll make the motion that, Mr. Militello make the changes discussed, this evening in the investment policy. Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor of the changes, say aye.
Roll call, it's
Aye.
money. Roll call.
It's money.
Oh, it's money. Roll call, sorry.
Supervisor Barla,
Yes.
sure. Trustees, Shaver,
Yes.
Yeager,
Yes.
Mercredo,
Yes.
Vandenagel,
Yes.
all ayes, motion carries.
So,
Michelle was seconded it?
yes. Okay, we got that one. Old business, discussion on RC tractor updates. I put that on there because I wasn't 100% sure what the outcome was last. I don't know if you have any new updates or anything.
I'm still waiting to hear back from a certain individual at the company I've been going back and forth with, so we'll move to push that to the next meeting again.
Do you want to push it to the next meeting?
Or I'll tell-
want to amend your motion to say that you'll contact me and put it on the next agenda when it's ready?
Yes, that's better. I will amend to say I will let you know when it needs to be put back on the agenda.
Okay, I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Did you get that one? Okay. First thing for proposed agenda items would be the review of the updated ordinance, investment ordinance. That's number 10. Is there anything else?
I have a couple of areas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
I attended How to Create a Successful Native Pollinator Garden with Eric. Eric was just doing me and Eric went too. And I think it's something we should put on the agenda and discuss. Have Eric here, because Eric, he was at the same meeting I was. And I think it's something we need to look at doing here in the township parks.
Yeah, so what you're referring to is doing natural vegetation in the area so that we don't have to mow.
Well, that, and it draws the bees,
Correct.
the butterflies, et cetera,
Yep.
and the rabbits.
We don't need more records.
Okay, that one, I guess, is another proposed one. Any others?
I have one more, if no one else has any.
Okay.
I have, yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
No, John, when you're done.
No, go ahead.
We need to further the conversation from the last board meeting where we started discussing the proposal for township official salaries for the next term. I think we also have benefits that probably need to be added into that discussion that we did not touch upon, whether or not benefits are provided, and then we just need to determine what the next steps are for the modeling required there.
Okay. So you want to put on there, if I hear you correctly, a review of the benefits to go with the salaries for elected officials?
Correct.
Okay.
And then further discussion on how we want to financially model that to determine if the amounts we determined already are possible.
Yep.
I have one more. I attended the meeting in the city of Mchenry the other day, as far as the Mchenry pit went. And there must have been 100 speakers. And I'm sure everyone's aware of it, the city of McHenry voted it down.
This is
I
gravel
believe,
pit.
yeah, I believe as a board, we should take a look at that and make a decision on whether we want to support the city of McHenry in the decision for the pit, because I'm sure it's going to go to the county. And I would imagine it hasn't yet, but I would imagine at some point it will. And I think our opinion might be important. I know it's important to the people that support us.
So, okay, so in preparation for that discussion, you guys are gonna want all of the public information from McHenry's meetings.
It's a
And
lot.
Jack's,
No, I agree.
and then also super aggregates, proposal.
Correct.
Okay.
What is your opinion? Why, I mean,
The people don't want it, it's pretty clear.
the people in one small section don't want it, it's pretty clear.
And if you look for my personal opinion, I'll give it to you.
Sure, that's why I'm
I
asking.
believe it should be further up north on Route 12. Why put it in 120 where we could build houses and strip malls and
I believe that, well, you can only put gravel pits where there's gravel.
there's gravel up on
land.
Route 12 for sure. I used to quad up there. There's lots of gravel and sand.
And I'd like to hear where it is. And it's gonna be residential development in the future anyway, after they develop it, after they go through the gravel, you know.
Jim,
I'm
understand.
sorry, I just
No,
a lot, not in my backyard and.
Look, it is in my backyard personally for Riley, it's just about my backyard. And the people in my precinct are clearly against it. And they spoke very loud and very clear, and that's why I'm bringing it up.
Okay.
We also all, I think for the most part, have received messages as trustees asking us to
Yes,
support one way or the other.
but we've all received messages, emails, texts, voicemails, things, where they're asking us to take a stand.
Oh, yeah.
And we've been quiet.
I think for the right reason.
Yes, add something. I don't quite understand why you want to pursue this. The
It's
city-
gonna go to the county,
It is going.
no
to
doubt
the
about
county.
it.
Right.
Well, if we want to support the people in our township,
But
we should come out and support them. That's my thought process.
But for the city, it's already been Xed.
That's why it's gonna go to the county, and the county's gonna want to hear different opinions as well.
But didn't, Carl spoke the last time?
Carr was not at that meeting.
No, our township meeting.
Right, yes, yeah, Carr, right.
I do have a question for you, John.
Yeah,
Was it discussed in how the material was going to get out of there?
no doubt about it, they were gonna pave the,
Was
they're
it going
really
to be a
gonna do
barge
everything with
sucking
no
it
dust.
out in
There was
water?
zero dust, I mean, the way they're talking about doing it. But the
So
water-
it'd be a barge and water sucking it out?
That's the way they made it sound, yes, that company that Gary just brought up described that to see
And-
how they were gonna do that.
And talking with Chairman Bueller, which has extensive work in there, A, it's an electric barge, so there's no chance of any kind of contamination. Two, he also brought up that there, as far as he knows, there is no well contamination. And three, no one's ever proven of anybody getting harmed or sick by the silica. I'm
understand
going
that.
to have
No,
those
I
things
understand
thrown
that.
at me,
I
so.
totally understand that.
But that's why it's not.
Right now, I'm
going to get
representing
done.
the people in my precinct.
True,
Okay,
but
and
if
that's what
those
I
were
need to do.
discussed, I'm making a note to make sure, because that was a good point you brought up, is to get the documentation of
Correct.
what went on.
Oh, yeah. No, they presented very well. I mean, I'm not trying to badmouth anybody here, but the people really did a good job of making their presentation. For the city to say no. I mean, there had to be 100 speakers easily.
Didn't the city generally say yes? As I recall, it had to be a supermajority, but the majority did say yes, didn't they?
No, they did not. The last
No, the
person that said no
majority
was
did
the
say
mayor.
yes. Three
They needed
people said
6.
no.
They needed
Three
6.
people said no, and how many said yes?
But they needed 6.
Well, I understand. I just said it, I just said it had to be a supermajority.
Correct.
But the majority said yes.
And the biggest vote against it was the mayor.
Well, I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that. And I don't question his decisions. He has his reasons for doing his reasons.
Correct.
But let's not forget that we need to make sure that we listen to everybody and not just the vocal minority that lives right there. And quite frankly, me making that statement doesn't help me at all, but we have to look at the bigger picture. In our country, all we seem to do is listen to the loud, you know, the people that are the loudest. Sometimes we need to take a step back and look at the overall picture.
We're not talking about the woke.
I'm not talking about woke either. I'm talking about the benefit to the township, the city, and everybody else as a whole. So save it.
I don't think the science has caught up with it yet, Jim. I mean, we don't know how many people are gonna get sick 10 years from now from the silica sand, and we
How
can't
many
even see in the
how many
air.
gravel pits do we have in McHenry County in
11
populated
right
areas?
now. In the
In
populated
populated
areas.
Hold on a second. Let him finish and let you go one at a time here, Joe.
All you have to do is look around Crystal Lake and Algonquin and look at the gravel pits in the populated areas. And the health concerns that they raise, we haven't seen them. So I don't mean to cut you off, and I understand the concerns. My concern is we need to look, we can't just zoom in on the local, not in my backyard. We have to look at the whole picture. That's what I'm getting at.
And that's why I said we should go further north on Route 12. It's the same sand base and gravel on further north of 12, and it's not in the middle of, or near any schools.
You have to show me where that is. And I don't mean no offense.
Yeah.
I always get concerned about not in my backyard because I've heard it so many times. Sorry.
But I understand.
John, was there any conversation specifically about the trucking aspect, the traffic and the in and out from that area?
Yes,
how it impacts-
that was discussed, the traffic. You know, in some ways,
5 trucks an hour.
yeah, Jack made some sense that now that the new pit is gonna be further east of the one that's already out, you know, out 120 further west by Myers, I believe that is. They made the argument that it actually would reduce traffic in some cases, because now they're 4 or 5 miles further east than the pit that's presently there. I don't know if that's true or not. You know, another person brought up like 15 violations that Jack Pease did. I mean, they really surprised me. So how are we gonna hold Jack Pease to his word when, and again, Jack did try to explain some of them. And I'm not here to badmouth Jack Pease, that's not what this is about for me. Just, you know, we need to look at it, let's get the discussion made at smaller people and make a decision.
Yes.
John, did they bring up the fact that, okay, if it's no, then we're okay to have a higher price in trucks coming from Wisconsin to McHenry to deliver the materials that we need to build roads and construction?
The need
And
for
higher
sand and
fuel
gravel is
costs?
definitely there.
Pardon?
The need for sand and gravel is definitely there.
But-
there was 2 board members there.
But we're gonna be bringing it from
Just, I said
Wisconsin,
county board members are there, yeah.
which adds cost to the construction projects with the fuel cost versus getting.
I don't know where the sand and gravel is delivering.
Was that ever a discussion?
I couldn't tell you if it goes to Antioch. That's closer to the Wisconsin border. So I don't, for me, that argument has no,
Because that's some of the questions we're gonna get, I just wonder if that was brought up
yeah,
and
but
answered.
Antioch is closer to Wisconsin than it is here. If that's,
I guess to back.
we can debate that back and forth. and
We
it's
need
not-
the
Right.
documents, we need the information. I don't think we're walking out of here with
Decision
one way or
true.
another.
Right.
So to debate
Okay,
is.
so,
not-
just an idea is rather than kill a tree, or 2 trees, or 5 trees, I'll send you a link to the information on the City of McHenry's website, and any place else I can find, for you guys to review in the interim.
Did they record it? They don't know if they recorded it. Did they record it?
They may have,
Yeah, I don't know.
but I think you need to read through the documentation, and look at all of it, and separate the hearsay, the rumors, the Facebooks,
Yeah.
and actually look at the proposal. And you have to look at the economics associated with the proposal. There's other things that go with that, that are not just the contamination of a well or the silica in the air. There's other things at play, and I, you know, as Highway Commissioner Khan said, is that Mayor Jett made his decision for his reasons, and I guess we'll make, each one of us that will, you know, depending on the outcome of what you guys read and what you want to do, is each one of us will make a decision on how we want to answer.
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah. Appreciate the conversation. Anything else for the next agenda?
Bus driver salary,
Pardon me?
bus driver salary.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so, being as though that we're gonna be discussing salary, just wanted to make sure with, Mr. Miltello here is that any conversations regarding future changes in salary should be done in executive session, because we're gonna be, can we do that?
Are we talking about the elected officials, or are we talking about the bus drivers?
Talking about bus drivers.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we'll put that in the next executive session, that, so I think the rule is what I just heard, I'll interpret, is that elected officials, we can do that in public, but as far as any of our employees in any department, individually or as a department, those should all be done in executive session.
Where you're dealing with specific people.
Correct.
Compensation packages, something like that. You could do it in public, but.
Correct.
Typically it's done in an executive session, just to iron out any issues.
That's, you nailed it right there. Okay.
One further question on that. So during our budget sessions, we got into some conversation around salary increases, percentages, what we thought, you know, for example, there was a recommendation of what the percentage should be, and I think we actually recommended it be increased. Would that be something that would go into
Not necessarily, no, not necessarily, because a lot of times in those types of situations, you're looking at it from an overall standpoint, saying, you know, we're looking for a CPI increase or some over global. Absolutely, in those situations, it's across the board. I'd leave that for public.
Okay.
But when you dive into the specific departments or
Specific
employees,
individuals.
that's when it needs to go to executive session.
Makes sense.
Board, I have one more, I apologize. Training of people to drive township vehicles. Not necessarily the bus, but the township owns several vehicles. And I think people that drive our vehicles, we should have some type of training program.
What kind of vehicles?
Chester has 4 or 5, I'm not sure how many they have.
They
back there.
drive regular vehicles that they drive to
No,
work.
they drive cars, but they're representing us. So there should be some kind
So
of
what
training.
kind of training are you talking about?
I got cut off by one pretty bad the other day, and that's how this all came up. And I'm not going to get into details, but I just think there should be some kind of training. Yeah. Some kind of defensive driving course or something.
Driver's license, I mean. with
That's
more
not
than
knowing how to
you need.
drive defensively.
Oh, yeah. Okay. We'll get it on there for the next agenda to have a discussion. Okay. With that, I don't know, any other topics for next meeting?
Seems like a pretty packed agenda.
Yeah. Okay, supervisors report.
Can I cut you off? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can I be recognized? I apologize. It probably is more related to old business, that's why I bring it up.
Okay.
I handed out earlier just an estimate of the insurance settlement summary, because some questions are flying around. How much money are we getting? Where's the money going in that? So I just did some rough estimates, because we don't have exact numbers from CCSI, and I passed that out tonight. And if anybody wanted to go through it or had any questions, it tells about how much money we're spending on actual repairs, how much is approximate actual cash value that we're anticipating getting back from the insurance company for the improvements we're not making, and then how much money should go where, and then ultimately how we split that money up. And I think we all would agree that we should split it 50-50, don't you?
This was all the issues with the buildings in general?
No, I'll just chime in, no, not 50-50.
It doesn't seem right to me.
Just checking. It was, guys, that was just for some humor, so the 50-50.
Because it does say township 83%, that's somewhere in the middle there.
No, I know. The one line was just to prevent a
You
little
wanted
bit
to
of
make sure
humor.
I
in our
was
meeting.
attention.
But in any case, that gives you an idea of additional funds that'll be what I would anticipate based off of information we've been supplied through the insurance company, how much money what the different possibilities are. That gets us in the ballpark. I've asked for additional information from CCSI about actual cash value for the items that we are taking the money for instead of doing the repairs. And I have not got that back yet. That's the only piece that's missing here, is that. So, but anyway, it gives us an idea of where we stand with everything. So, anybody has any questions, I'm glad to answer it, but I know Gary wanted to have a good idea of what that is.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Sorry to cut you off.
Well, I think you guys also received a copy of the audit report. I don't know, in your packets. I don't know if there were any questions specific to that. But it appears we're doing our accounting correctly and managing our money. We didn't have any, what I'll refer to is like when you have an audit, no major and no minor findings at all. So any questions about the information that was in my packet? Okay, not hearing any. The assessor, I know she is here, thank you. And would you like to present your information?
Sure, don't have a whole lot, other than we've been working on our 23 assessments. Thought we would have them in tomorrow, but it's going to be Monday. So what we do is we send our assessments to the county, they go through them, and then it's the county that publishes the notices. And every property owner gets a notice, plus they're published in the paper. Probably going to be after Labor Day at this point, just to so people can kind of get a heads up on that. We will be doing like an appeal workshop kind of thing after we know when the notices are going out, just in case people want to learn about that. A lot of values will be going up pretty significantly, so good chance we'll have a lot of appeals. And that's not a problem, it's just, we like to help people understand the process and what they need to do in order to do that. But we can't set that date until we know when the notices are going out, so, but we're already planning to do that. Just so you know, we have been doing, since the beginning of the year, Facebook Live reports, just little blurbs where we're really trying to tell people to make sure they're paying attention to their market value right now, so that they're not shocked when they get their notice. And not everyone will be, but there will be some areas that will be. So just part of the way it goes. But anyway, that's really what we're doing now. And once we get, my staff is out there still doing, we have a lot of properties that need to be walked. We have a lot of new construction continuing to go on. And when the appeal time comes, my staff will, if there are properties we haven't been to that are either appealing or are used as a comparable property, we have to go to them at that time as well. So it gets pretty busy. We don't have any lack of work going on there. I did the two staff members I've hired, one is a field person that is really helping to cover more of the information that we need. And then a part-time recent high school graduate that's been coming in a couple of days to help with a lot of data entry and stuff. So all working out good. That's really our focus until we get everything in. It'll be appeals. Just want you to know that during that time we also get, so anyone who appealed in 2022 and filed with the state, we do get those appeals in, and they tend to come in the heart of our regular appeal time. Those have to be responded to as well. We don't have that many from last year. We've already done one batch. We have another 10 or so to be responded to, but we have to do more than one thing at a time, so there's a lot going on there. But anyway, that's really what we're doing. I don't know if you have any questions for me, but.
Any questions for the assessor? Not hearing, I'll go to the highway commissioner.
You have my written report.
Yep.
don't have too much other than, our road program was supposed to be done by the end of August. We moved back to the end of September because of the drought that we had. We're doing a lot of re-ditching along Pioneer Road. And we didn't want to do that and then topsoil it and be out of the season to where we'll get grass growing relatively soon. So we pushed it back a little bit to the end of September. We'll be finishing up our road program. Other than that, things are moving along like always.
Just curious, because I've driven this road the last couple of days, the lighted signs that are on Ringwood and Pioneer Road, is that for your work or is that for somebody else's work?
On Ringwood and Pioneer.
Yeah, there's a
They
lighted.
weren't up yesterday, were they?
They're up today.
They're up to, they were supposed to be up on the 7th,
Oh.
and they weren't up, and I did not drive down there today. So yeah,
they're
that's
up.
the improvements. We are we are doing some improvements on Pioneer Road, especially from Ringwood to Route 31 there.
Okay.
We're doing some re-ditching, so they are putting those up to warn people that that's a major area. It's not just milling and overlaying like many of our roads are, or just overlaying. That's actual reconstruction of ditches and stuff. So.
Oh, okay, that's what
And we did actually put on Facebook today, I believe it was, on our social media, the tentative schedules for the different activities
okay.
and the roads throughout the township. So,
I'll see it tomorrow morning when it pops up.
Roger.
I don't have anything else. Anybody have anything? We talked about, there's really no need this evening for an executive session. We'll move that to the next meeting. Board member comments. Trustee Shaver, anything else?
No, sir.
Trustee Yeager?
No thanks?
Trustee Macredo? Nope. Trustee Bendenagle?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Oh, I do have a couple more. Thursday, September 14th from 11 to 1 a.m. It's held at the Moose Lodge. It's the Hats Off to 50 Years, formerly known as the Lucky Bucks celebration. It's a senior services fundraiser. So if you'd like to attend, I can get you that information. And also to let you know that we've met with, from previous conversations, we've met with all the drivers. We've created a driver's manual, fairly basic at this point, and we'll keep continually adding on to it as things arise. And the objective here is anybody we bring on, well, anybody who's currently here will read through it and acknowledge they've read through it. And then anybody we bring on will get that. All of our drivers do get their driver training on buses through PACE.
Now, is that just for the township or?
That's the township.
Not the
drivers.
assessors?
No, that's the bus drivers, yes.
Well, the bus drivers need they need a specific kind of training before they can drive the bus anyway.
They get that at PACE.
Right.
But we also have some
Depends on driving.
expectation rules for the bus drivers while they're out and about. I'll use this one is when it's their lunch hour, and it's probably not the best to go park in front of a bar. Well, I'm not going to tell them they can't eat there, but they might want to park somewhere else. Just from a perception standpoint, it's probably not the best thing to do. So we're just kind of some customer service rules and things like that. That's all this really is.
And just, John, for your concern, the vehicles that the assessment office uses are regular, they're not they're not buses, they're
I understand that.
regular cars.
There was a car that cut me off.
And it was my car, our car that cut
It was a
you off?
gray one.
There's two gray ones. You
Okay,
must-
why didn't you write the license plate number down?
Did you hit them?
No, they almost hit me.
Oh, that was defensive
Yeah,
driving?
right. Yeah, right. No, they cut me off. Hey, I'm just saying defensive driving, that's all. No more, no less.
We all want, what we do, we do random drug testing also. There's no one that has ever had an issue with that. In fact, in almost 10 years now here, we've only had one accident reported, and that was many years ago. It was in the winter in Wonder Lake, and if you're familiar with Wonder Lake, and a lot of hills up there, and one of them backed into a hole. But
For me, it's more of a I'm sorry I'm cutting you short, but it's more of a preventive. In other words, if someone does get into a real bad accident, we could prove, hey, we did work with them.
Well, we do. I get that, but I'm saying, and think that the record in the assessment office is we don't have any accidents, and that they do drive carefully, and I do talk to them about representing the township. Everything has the township name on it. They have the same direction, you know, if you're stopping for lunch, you're not going anywhere where they serve alcohol.
Yeah.
We just, you know, that's clear to them. So I think we have a pretty good record, and they're basically good drivers. But
Maybe it comes from my background. I was at UPS for years, and I taught tractor trailer drivers how to ride. Taught many, many years of defensive driving, and that's just the way I see it.
sure, no, I just want you to know that we do talk about being careful out there. We do also.
I'm sure we do. No, I just brought up the
Yeah,
first
no,
color, that's all.
Just letting you know.
Not trying to point fingers.
I do have one thing too, Gary.
Yes.
Not on the defensive driving thing, but
Thank you, sir.
Saturday, August 19th, the American Legion is doing an event called Get Wet with a Vet.
Yes.
I'm going to participate with my father-in-law. We have a boat. We're going to take out some veterans. So if anybody knows of any veterans that live near the area that would be interested in going out on a boat for the day, probably getting shot by Senator Wilcox with a giant water gun, they should sign up. It's free of charge. Lunch is provided. They get a tour of the chain, and then it ends up back at the American Legion that afternoon for some beverages. So anybody that has a boat that would be interested in being a captain, or anybody that's a vet that would like to go out, have them reach out to me.
Well, that's next Saturday, week from Saturday.
It'll be the 5th Wet-A-Vet and Keith Memorial.
It's a great time.
That started Get a Vet Wet.
It's a great time.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
There you go. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And it is 8:10. Yeah. Fell off.
Almost like last night.
Yeah.
You
Well,
need
it's
a
good
battery
conversation.
watch. Have a good one. You too.